Hyundai's range of N performance cars is expanding with the all-new i30 Fastback N. If you think about it, it's a more sedan-y version of the already very popular i30 hatch. It's got the same 2-litre turbocharged engine with the 6-speed manual gearbox. However, it does have a slightly different suspension tune. It's a little bit softer. And we're here at the Bend in South Australia to find out if it's still any good. Before we jump in though, I do actually want to show you the main differences between this and the hatch, and that is of course the rear end. As you can see, there's a lot of Mercedes elements in this, and I am a big fan of this spoiler, which doesn't look great if the car is black. But if you look at these reflective lights down here, it looks amazing at night time. And if you do open the boot, you will notice that it's about 15% bigger than the hatch, and it's about 450 litres of storage. But I don't think you're going to buy this because of the boot space. So let's get in and go for a drive. All right folks, we're here at the Bend and we're doing the international circuit, which is about 5 kilometers compared to the full circuit at 8. I'm coming down to the main straight here in the i30 Fastback N, and we just hit 200. I'm about to brake really hard into turn 1. I'm going to tell you what this car is like. So here we go. Nice and hard, into 4th, into 3rd. A bit of a power slide, that's always fun. Look, you can push this car really hard and it'll behave quite predictably. For a car that's front-wheel drive, you do get a lot of rear play, I should say. And it's quite fun, like it's really fun to chuck it into a corner. I mean, I didn't have to do that, but I just wanted to show you what it was like. And the most important thing for me in this car is how well this thing turns in. This is a really sharp corner here, and you can just see I'm not really correcting the steering wheel. It does understeer a tad, but considering the type of car that it is, it's actually really, really good. That diff up front works amazingly well on a track like this. So the main problem with this car I've had today, I've done about 50 laps now, is the fact that these Pirelli tires are really not working on this surface. So it's very dusty here in Adelaide. This car is sliding around a fair bit, which is also affecting something else, and that's the brakes. So because of ESC Sport, it does tend to interfere just a little bit in mid-corner if the car is sliding. So the brakes are getting worked a little bit more than they probably should. And then when I need them, coming back onto the straight, sometimes they just aren't there. And it's a lack of consistency with the brakes today that's been worrying me. So you get brakes a lot, and then you get no brakes. And then halfway through the track again, you get brakes. So that's something to be aware of, I suppose. I could turn all the traction aids off, but I'm really not that game. So under the bonnet of this car is the same 2-litre engine as you'll find in the i30N hatch, and that puts out 202 kilowatts of power and 378 newton meters of torque when it's overboosting, like right now. And that is a fair bit of power and torque, and around this track it does not feel underpowered. This 6-speed manual gearbox, as I'm in 4th now, going into 5th as I get to 200 down the main straight, is a really good box. And when you put it into N mode, it really rev matches, and I can just slam down the gears as you just saw. And that makes driving this thing on track really fun. Of course, you can turn rev matching off, but I don't really see any reason why you would on a racetrack. It just corners so beautifully, this thing. It really is. It's only let down by its tires today. Only let down by its tires. And that's saying a lot considering how hard I'm pushing this car. From a weight perspective, this car has a 12 kilogram weight disadvantage compared to the hatch. However, it does actually have better weight distribution. So it's more closer to 50-50 front and rear than the hatch. However, the main thing to remember is that the Fastback has a slightly softer suspension setup. And that's great around the roads we were driving yesterday. Around this track though, I do feel like it does have slightly more body roll than the hatch. But in saying all that, they do tell me this suspension setup is quicker around the Nürburgring than the old one. And we will also get the suspension set up in the hatch from the model year 2020, so you better get used to it. And it is pretty good. It is pretty good. I have to say, what little softness they have brought out of the car for everyday comfort, it's not a huge disadvantage on the racetrack. It just corners so well. It just corners so beautifully. It's important to realize that the guys here in Australia have had a ridiculous amount of input into this car, which is probably why it drives so well. In most hot hatches, Australia is sort of just left off, like, you know, good luck, here's a car. I don't believe the Germans with the Golf GTI even care what Volkswagen Australia has to say. Here though, it's very, very different. The guys at Hyundai Australia have got very involved with the development of this car, and it really shows. You know, you drive it around Australian roads and it's quite comfortable, yet when you go around a corner, it's really, really nicely planted and it grips and it turns in beautifully. So there's something to be said about that. If you're trying to decide between the hatch and the fastback, I think that really comes down to a personal opinion. For me, I think it's the fastback, and the reason I say that is because it's extremely unique. So as you know, there are plenty of hot hatches around. You know, you've got the quintessential hot hatch in the Golf GTI, you've got Focus ST, you've got Renault Megane RS, and of course you've got the i30N hatchback, which is an amazing car. But how many other sedan-y looking performance cars can you get for about $45,000 on road? None. This is it. Honestly, this is it. This is the only one in this category. You'll have to go up to an Audi S3 or a Mercedes-Benz CLA to find something similar. So if you want something unique that still has all the performance of a hot hatch, but with a little bit more presence, and in my opinion at least, a little bit more class, I think you can't really go past the i30 Fastback N.